How do you go from a full-time 9 to 5 into running your own business without messing your life up? That's the topic of today's video, and it was something that I did over 10 years ago now, and since then I've built a business that's valued at over 8 figures. We've done over 25 million in revenue, we've got 30 amazing employees and work with some of the world's biggest brands. So I've been there, I've done it, and today I want to share some of the most important things that I found that really helped me transition into a successful start of a business. Because there's so many people online now, you hear them and they go, oh, just fucking follow your dream, man. Follow your dream, leave your job. It's fine. Just go out there, be courageous. But in reality, most people have financial responsibilities. Well, I sure did at the time. At the time, I think I was giving my parents around £700 a month in rent towards the house, and I had my own bills to pay. My parents had lost everything in the 2008 crash, so it was a really peak time in my life where I couldn't just pursue my dream. I needed money and I needed to make sure that I had cash flow for everything. So let's go back to around 2012 when I'm working full-time in recruitment. I was working in IT recruitment, recruiting people into the NHS. It was a job that I really enjoyed, with good managers, with strong leadership. I'd actually had like 10 jobs before that, which I left after 6 months because my ADHD got the better of me and I thought I knew more than the managers. That's a story for another episode. Can you run a business with ADHD? I'm working full-time in recruitment. I'm earning good commission and I'm buying trainers with my commission money. And every time I buy a pair of trainers, my dad's like, why are you wasting your money? Stop doing that. But I told him I had a plan. I start learning about shoes. I know everything about them after a year and a half. I get obsessive like that, right? And then I start selling pairs as well. I buy some from Carnaby Street, 2 extra pairs, one for myself, and then I'd sell them to people in Europe on eBay. And I was making good money doing that, and I start stacking money. Then after a year, I think, do you know what? I can do this. I can create a website that helps people do what I'm doing. And that's where the courage came in that I had to talk about in episode 1, in the last episode. I had to take the first action, which was buying the sole supplier domain name. But at this point, I'm starting to realise, do you know what? I need to sacrifice a little bit of my time to build the business because I'm already working hard in recruitment. So how do I now build the business whilst I'm working full time? So I decide that every evening I'm going to come home and I'm going to spend time on the computer figuring out how to build the website, figuring out how to write content, okay? And I'm not going to stop until I get a result. So I literally do that every night. I stopped going out drinking. I think I stopped drinking completely for 18 months until the business was in a good financial position. And I come home every single night and I work on that stuff, and even on the weekends. Friends didn't see me, I wasn't around much at all. I was committed to following my dream, as the cheesy people say online. I wanted to get out of the 9 to 5. Like my dad had always told me, like I mentioned in episode 1, he said, look, you want to do something for yourself. The internet's a big opportunity. So that's where I was focused on. Now I thought that if I got 10 grand stacked from my job, from my reselling, that'd be enough to leave my job. But then when I'm actually starting to think about leaving my job, I'm realising, do you know what? That's not going to be good enough. That 10 grand will disappear in about 3 months and it will put pressure on me. So then I set up a new goal. I say, I'm making 5 grand from my full-time job. I need to make 5 grand at least before I leave my full-time job, because that 5 grand will cover the bills that I have to pay, the money that I have to give to my parents, and it will leave me some extra to invest in the business. Now you're probably thinking, well, once you're making 5 grand from your business and your recruitment job, then you've got 10 grand. Why don't you just keep doing those 2 things? Well, that would be nice, but in reality, what I thought at the time was, when I got to that 5 grand point, and by the way, we didn't make any money with the business for the first 9 months. So it was an absolute painful time of going to work in recruitment from 8 till 6 and then coming home from 6 till 10, 11, working again, getting up at 6, going again. If there's a thing called burnout, that would be what it feels like. Okay, my mind runs at 100 miles an hour, and after 9 months of not really making any money with the business, I was done. But very luckily, there was a big turnaround point, which is for another video, at month 9. And from month 9 to around month 15, we got to that 5 grand a month cash flow that I wanted. And then at month 16, I actually left my full-time job. And you're probably thinking, but then you lost 5 grand a month from your full-time job. Correct. But like I said in the last video, the potential money that I could make over the next 2 years if I went all in on the sole supplier business was 10x more, another cheesy buzzword, 10x more. Let's just say it was 10x more than I could possibly make from my career. And I realised that very quickly. I had plans of how I wanted to do things, but I didn't have the time to do them because I was working full time, okay? And it wasn't possible. So if you've got plans of how you can do things to grow the business, and the growth plan is very clear, and the market timing is right, and you have the correct cash flow to pay off all of your bills and your responsibilities. You might have kids, you might have elderly people that you need to look after. People have responsibilities. So be very careful before you leave your full-time job, because it can be very hard to go back into it. Most people don't want to. They're an entrepreneur now. They don't want to go back into a full-time job. They've got every one of their friends and family looking at them saying, you did this. You better make this successful because you've left. So people feel that pressure and that responsibility to make it successful. But what happens is, and what I see too much is, people leave, follow your dream, leave, become an entrepreneur. They leave their full-time job. They're financially stressed. Their business wasn't validated enough to keep growing steadily for a year or two. And then they start making bad decisions because they're stressed financially. The worst place to make decisions from a lot of the time is when you're burning through cash, because you're going to make short-term decisions for your business which don't build the long-term value of your business. So you need to make sure you're in a comfortable enough position so you can run your business from a place of clarity and sanity. So it's all about those things. Making sure you've got the right amount of cash flow, making sure you've got a small emergency fund, making sure you've covered things around you for your family so they're not in a struggle, and making sure you've got a clear growth plan for your business and it's validated so it can keep growing once you leave your job. And just remember, drop your pride. If your business starts to not work and you need to go back to full-time work, that's fine. You've got the next 10, 15, 20 years to start another business. You've got enough time to start 3 businesses. Think long term. This is the first try. I started 3 businesses before the sole supplier was successful, and I'll keep trying if the sole supplier failed or if I sold the sole supplier. I will keep going. I've got that undying hunger within that will keep me going to keep starting businesses because I want more from my life and I want to feel this dream in my head. It's that simple. And if you want to learn more about some of the traits that you need to be a business owner or an entrepreneur, have a look at episode 1, because there's so many people painting these realities online that are just not true. It takes hard work, it takes a specific mindset, and most importantly, you've got to look after your finances before you leave full-time work.